You know, when I was president, Bob was mentioning, we had to work to deal with the worst economic crisis since the Great Depression. Bob was there helping every step of the way. And the actions we took during the crisis turned the economy around, started the longest streak of job creation on record, which continues to this day.
About 11 years of uninterrupted economic growth. It started, and the majority of it was through the Obama administration. By just about every measure, Barack Obama's economy was much stronger than Donald Trump's economy.
The economic expansion has been underway for 126 months. So that means it started before him.
He didn't inherit a mess. He inherited one of the best economies ever. Basically what he's doing is continuing the momentum that President Barack Obama set.
Governor Reagan again, typically, is against such a proposal.
Governor, there you go again.
Yep, we're dealing with this again because Obama keeps bringing it up.
For those folks who've lost their job right now because a plant went down to Mexico, you know, that isn't going to make you feel better. And so what we have to do is to make sure that folks are trained for the jobs that are coming in now, because some of those jobs of the past are just not going to come back. And when somebody says, like the person you just mentioned, who I'm not going to advertise for, that he's going to bring all these jobs back. Well, how exactly are you going to do that? What are you going to do? There's no answer to it. He just says, well, I'm going to negotiate a better deal. Well, how exactly are you going to negotiate that? What magic wand do you have? And usually the answer is he doesn't have an answer.
Here we go again, because Obama keeps bringing this up. So once again, Obama is taking credit for today's economy, which of course upset President Trump, who responded back calling this the latest con job against his administration, claiming that President Obama had the slowest economic recovery since World War II. And we've had 11 since then. This is the slowest one. So the stock market grew 36% in the 807 trading days leading up to the election of President Trump, and it grew and it has grown 807 days since leading up to the third annual inaugural of President Trump. So, who takes credit for this economy? President Obama has he's done this before. He likes to say that Trump doesn't know how to bring back the jobs that left, the manufacturing jobs that have gone, the jobs that have disappeared due to the fleeting economic status of our country. So President Obama says that Trump is going to wave a magic wand and he's going to bring these jobs back, but he doesn't have a clear and cut plan as to how he's going to do that. He just says he's going to negotiate a better deal with the companies that have left, but doesn't really know how to do it. And so he keeps kind of touting that, and he's saying that the slow economic recovery that he's implemented over the years, coming out of the recession of the Bush years, he's saying that that's the reason that we're seeing all of this economic prosperity today. And it's got really nothing to do with President Trump. It's growing in spite of him, and Trump's biggest accomplishment is just staying out of the way and letting Obama's economy flourish. So that's basically the argument of the left, that this is not really Trump's economy. He inherited a great economy from President Obama. And he's simply taking credit for continuing the trends that Obama started. It's been the argument for the longest time, and quite frankly, it's just a frustratingly annoying argument. So tired of hearing this. This is not Obama's economy. Now that the economy is doing good, Obama wants to take credit for it. For 8 years, whenever something negative about the economy would come up, President Obama would point the finger at Bush and say, no, I inherited a mess and I'm bringing us out of that into prosperity, and would always blame Bush. For 8 years, that was the case. And now, under the 3 years so far of President Trump, things are doing great. And now he's really getting into it. Every now and then, Obama chimes in and he talks about how all this economic prosperity started under him, and this is really because of him and his success, and taking credit for what Trump did. So let's look into some of those numbers and let's see just what exactly is going on here. The stock market grew 31% prior to Trump's election in the last half of Obama, and it grew 56% in the days after, in the 807 trading days after that. That trend, that curve was slightly up after Trump got in. Had it stayed on that same course, it would have increased more. It would have increased at a more dismal level. It stayed on that same course. So if Trump was simply continuing the trends of Obama, that 56 number would not be at the number that it's at, because the trend takes a slightly sharp uptick higher than it would have been. Manufacturing jobs. President Obama is partially correct when he says that we are in a new industrial revolution, and so some jobs simply are not going to come back because we're in a new era now. Automation, robots are advancing and becoming more technological, and so some jobs simply aren't not going to come back. They are replaced by robots. Yes, that's true. This is a new age, and and he is correct to say that we shouldn't be looking at the jobs that have left. We should be retraining ourselves with new skills to fill the jobs of the future and not of the past. The jobs that we need to fill that are of today and not yesterday. Most likely something with a computer and getting good with computer systems and engines and all that, in that arena. So, with that said, there were still a good chunk of manufacturing jobs that have come back and that should have come back, because they never should have gone in the first place, because we aren't not there yet to where automation completely takes over. So, under President Obama, we lost 200,000 manufacturing jobs. By the end of Obama's term, we had about 287,000 manufacturing jobs. That's after 8 years of Obama. And Obama covers this up by saying, well, this is the new normal. 2% GDP is the new normal. 3 years now, under Trump, we're at 487,000 manufacturing jobs. And that's just manufacturing jobs. This is the primary source of what's going on here. The average job created under President Obama was a part-time job. It was a part-time job or some kind of contractual work. So that decreases the unemployment level. The unemployment level was consistently going down under President Obama. It started about 2010. That's when it peaked, and it went down. And so it continued to go down, and then Trump gets elected, and then it continues to go down. And so the argument of the left is that the president could be anyone, and it still would have continued to go down. And Trump is just taking credit for something that Obama did. All right, so the unemployment level was going down, but again, what types of jobs were being created? What types of jobs were being filled? What types of work was being done? That's a key thing here. And I just mentioned there were more manufacturing jobs, filling people's, homes with food and feeding families. And, like there was real quality work that actually came back, in addition to the automation that's here, taking away jobs, forcing us to retrain and to learn new skills for the future. In addition to all that, there were 200,000 more jobs that came back under Trump than under Obama. 3 years under Trump versus the 8 years of Obama. So the unemployment level is going down, and the types of jobs that are being created now under Trump are much more quality jobs. And another thing about the unemployment level, so it was going down under Obama, but that's primarily because people weren't looking for work. And that's the majority of the country. The labor force participation rate was significantly going down under President Obama. In fact, 9.9 million people were working. They were working primarily part-time and contractual work under Obama, which is why the GDP was terrible. The average annual GDP growth per year under 8 years of Obama was 2.2%. So 9.9 million people working not truly fulfilling and supporting families type of jobs. 9.9 million. But 14.6 million people stopped working altogether. They just gave up, and they lived off their savings. They moved back in with their parents or their siblings and friends. 14.6 million people stopped looking for work, which means more than half, more than 50% of the entire workforce left and were not working than were actually working. And the only way that someone is counted as unemployed is if they are actively looking for work but can't find it. Over the course of about a month or so, like 5 to 6 weeks. It's like a month and a half. So that lowers the unemployment rate. The unemployment rate was going down under President Obama, but that doesn't mean that things were going good. People gave up and stopped looking for work. More than half of the entire workforce gave up and stopped looking for work. So the quality of work that was in the workforce wasn't all that great, and the people that were there were hardly there. There was less than half of the entire workforce was there. So that lowers the quality. So that tells you about what's really going on here. Like, this was not a healthy, vibrant economy that Trump is continuing the policies of, and now things are better, and we should thank Obama because of that. Because the labor force participation rate is now going up. It was at about, I think the highest it was at about 63%. That was the highest it was before it started to really tank. It was about March of 2014, I want to say. And it just continued to go down. And now it's going back up again. It's back at 63%, like 63.4, I want to say. Like, it's going back up again. Like, it was going down under Obama, and then it flatlined. And then Trump took office, and now it's starting to go up again. And so when it flatlined, liberals want to say that, it's the same. Trump is not doing anything. He's just continuing what Obama started. Well, as you were telling us in the beginning, it takes time, and that's why this is Obama's economy. Stop. As it does take time, it's now starting to go back up again, which proves the point that because one aspect of this economy is great, doesn't mean that the economy is healthy. The Federal Reserves were lowering interest rates to keep our heads above water. I mean, it wasn't because of the economic brilliance coming out of Washington. Like, they were doing everything that they could to keep this country up. Business investors and corporations, they kept their money offshores because there was just so much economic uncertainty, to the point where President Obama himself said that 2% GDP, 2% was the new normal. It's just stop telling me that, stop trying to shake the table and tell me that there's actual change going on. Like, no, it wasn't. This economy was not healthy and growing, and Trump is just continuing those same policies and taking credit for the growth. He reversed a lot of Obama's policies. He did the opposite of what Obama was doing. He cut regulations. Last I checked, the number was that 22 regulations for every one new one implemented. He cut regulations. He lowered taxes for the corporations and for the middle class, giving people more of their own money so they can make their own their own healthcare decisions about what's best for their families and their families' lives. So the Congressional Budget Office, at the beginning of Trump's term, predicted about 2 million jobs would be created. 3 years in, we're at 7 million jobs. And that's good quality jobs that are now coming back. We still have work to do. There's still a lot to be done. But again, remember, 200,000 manufacturing jobs. Like, it's not just part-time contractual work. Look at the real numbers. People are participating in the workforce again. GDP is a good measure of the overall average to take a quick temperature of the health of the economy, but also look at the median incomes, the median household incomes. Under President Obama, it was about $1,000 or so per household. Under President Trump, it's over $4,000 per household. People are working again. This is a much healthier economy. It's not just continuing what Obama started and praising him for it and bashing Trump for trying to take credit for it. So a common rebuttal from the left is that the job creation was a lot slower now under the 3 years of Trump versus the last half of Obama's presidency. So remember what I said, the quality of the jobs being created. So if you were to stretch a rubber band, and Crowder did he did a great video about this recently. If you were to stretch a rubber band, in the beginning, it's easy to stretch it out because it's because you're hardly moving it. It's easier and easier and easier, as if you were coming out of a recession and you hit rock bottom. The only place you have to go is up. The only direction you can go is up. The very beginning of stretching out that rubber band. It's when you've maxed it out for the most part, can you maintain that stretch? Can you keep those jobs coming to maintain that healthy economy? That's the main thing about this. So because the job creation was a little bit higher at the end of Obama and slightly lower now at the beginning of Trump, doesn't mean that Obama's economy was healthier. Because again, remember, the average job created was a part-time or contractual job. Look at the median incomes. Look at the slightly higher GDP. This is a much healthier economy. More people are working again. They didn't give up and stop looking, and thus the numbers went down. And so we should be happy about that. No, this is a much healthier economy. Remember, so keep that in mind. The job growth may have been higher, but what types of jobs were being created? According to the recent Gallup polls, more people are happier now. They think they're much more better off than they were 4 or 5 years ago, towards the tail end of Obama. They're much more better off. They feel like their lives are much better. According to recent polls, about 62% of the public credit President Trump with this economy and not President Obama. It's a common argument that you hear from the left. It's a common argument to provoke a common response from the right. Whenever the stock market or whenever things go up, the left praises Obama. When something happens and the stock market dips and things kind of go down again, they blame Trump. But when it mellows out and things start getting better again, we gotta praise Obama and his infinite wisdom for getting us out of those evil, terrible Bush years. If the economy was so great at the tail end of Obama that carried us into the prosperity that we're in now, then why didn't Hillary Clinton run on that? For goodness sake, she tried to do universal basic income. That's now associated with Andrew Yang. She was gonna run on that and she couldn't get the numbers to work. If everything was so great, she would have just continued what Obama did and she wouldn't have tried to find some new economic avenue to build her major party platform on and to run on as this fresh new voice to continue what Obama did, but in a much better and growth achieving way. It's just more Trump derangement syndrome, more hatred from the left of this president. They just don't want to give Trump a win on anything. They don't like him. And so they must do everything in their power to discredit him, to stop him, to make him look bad, to make you feel like everything is terrible. This is the same thing that they did to President H.W. Bush, George H.W. Bush. They did the same thing to him. In the months leading up to Clinton's election, thus defeating H.W.'s re-election, they were telling everyone that the economy was terrible and everything was bad, but by the GDP and all the numbers, the household incomes and all of that, everything was fine. And the moment that Clinton won, the media switched tunes as if to say everything was great again, and they were saying everything was fine, and public perception changed. It's the same thing all over again. Stop listening to them. It's just more of the same, more of the agenda, more Trump derangement syndrome. Things are not as terrible as the media would have you to think. We're not in an apocalypse. Everything is not terrible. In fact, things are a lot better now. People are a lot happier now. It's not 100% perfect, yes, but it's a lot better than where we were on the tail end of the last administration. It's a lot better now. People are happier. People feel better off. This is the way that it should have been. On the path, on a much better path to greatness, to prosperity. On to the next one.